All right, I'm gonna hang on for a while. I guess I gotta talk about it.
Might as well.
You took me away from my work, so
Get to work.
You're to blame that these videos don't get released on time, Nick.
No, it's so weird starting these without like the intro and then it like building up to it. I
Right.
just have to like play it in my head because I know Dad edits it in later. Yeah, welcome to the Show Boys podcast. I'm Pixel Nick. Got Chadwick the Third here, and Dad's going to be on for a little bit, neglecting his efforts and his work behind the scenes as our mediocre producer, who does a fantastic job. But we're here tonight to talk about Blue Eye Samurai. I constantly want to say Blue Eyed Samurai, but
I
it's
know,
just
dude.
Samurai. It throws me off
Yeah.
in my brain every time. I just like trip over a rock.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually looked it up. Like I always pull up the Wikipedia page before we start these. I looked it up, Blue-Eyed Samurai. Didn't even realize till about 5 minutes ago that it was Blue-Eyed Samurai. So
it even sounds like you're still saying eyed. It's just how my brain registers it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the normal way you say it is Blue-Eyed Samurai.
Right.
But whatever, they're different, you know.
But before we get into it, shout out top to your patrons, Yusuf H and Tim B. You guys are great. All of our other patrons, you guys are all lovely too. We have recently revamped our patron tiers, still 4 of them, but reworked some of the perks. Sign up, right? Cheapest is $8, goes all the way up to $10. I would say $10 is worth it. We have extra content that comes out. You get early access to the episodes before Dad touches them with his editing skills, and you get a weekly patron episode, and you can even suggest topics and come on the episode as a guest. I mean, I think that's pretty cool. So sign up for Patreon and we can get into the episode. And chatting just a little bit beforehand, Dad, you pointed this out, I do believe. I was completely not on my radar. I don't know how or why it wasn't, but it just kind of came out of the blue. Mike joke. And I really like Netflix animation. I want to watch more Netflix animation.
Yeah, especially after this.
Yeah.
Really after Arcane. And you know what I've seen of like some other ones here and there, but I haven't really like stuck to any other ones, even though I've kind of started them, like the Witcher ones. Want to do Castlevania.
They're
all Castlevania is
I want to. That's probably next for me.
Yeah, Castlevania is phenomenal. It's the different animation style, but this kind of reminds me of Arcane a lot in a way, and that just might be my memory of Arcane and not actually reality. But it was very reminiscent of it, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Arcane all the way through, and that was like the point at which I knew Netflix is kind of really figuring out what they're doing animation wise, and this is kind of like the second coming in my mind of like an Arcane level original, right? I would consider Arcane original because that's never been anything but a game and some website pages. This is, I don't know if it's based on maybe stories or legends. It seems like it could be just because it ties itself so much to actual history in Japan during the Edo period. But I think I told Mike this. I was like, the animation is maybe not as unique as Arcane was, but it definitely was top-notch quality animation, like Arcane.
I agree.
First thing I thought about.
I'm not a big fan of this animation style until I watched the show, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like this looks really phenomenal." Thank you, because I would have never watched it.
I was blown away from the start, man. Like I saw the trailer, I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And like not knowing anything about the story, obviously, but knowing that it's a samurai, a freak samurai, in feudal Japan, dude, I was like, oh, this is definitely Chad's
for sure. Yeah, and it's cool to see an American / France production nail feudal Japan so well, because this has nothing to do. This didn't come from Japan, which is I found out like probably 90% of the way through the series that this was an American production. So
the only thing that kind of threw me off though was like the Metallica stuff.
So yeah, that threw me off, but a lot of the songs, or at least a couple of them, are like references to Kill Bill. I think there's a lot of references to Kill Bill in this.
Dude, it's crazy you say that. I totally felt like Kill Bill vibes in this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. This is like an animated Quentin Tarantino flick.
Dude.
I've never really been the biggest fan of like the computerized animation. I don't know why. I just, maybe it's because I'm so rooted in old school anime, you know. But this for whatever reason, really, it's gorgeous, dude. There's a lot of shots in this that are just stunning. Really, there's no other way to put it.
It's so good. Like, well, from what I saw originally from the trailer, I'm like, wow, this is probably well, I haven't really watched a lot of anime or animated shows, but this one just looks so good. Like, I'm like, it's the best looking cartoon I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, yeah, and what it does, and this is what Arcane was able to do, is like they are completely computer generated, obviously, but it kind of has that. It reminds me of like what Borderlands did, like in terms of making itself seem flat, right? Which is a good thing for this, because obviously it leans away from the 3D-esque thing that they want to do all the time with 3D animation, right? Computer animation.
However, they did do that in this, but not over the top to make it obvious. But like there were some shots where I'm like, okay, this looks 3D, like not so flat. Which I didn't mind either way. Like I wasn't thrown off by that at all.
They pick their battles and they pick their style for what's going on in the scene, and they play to the strengths of the animation. But when it doesn't need to be like all poppy and bubbly, they definitely don't make it that way. And they have those really beautiful like pastel painting scenes, especially when we're looking at big areas, which I really like too.
Even like the snow covered mountains, just like the whole winter. To like the beautiful like when they're in the city and they've got the butterflies flying through, just like the colors are just popping. It looks just really good.
Yeah, dude, that's what stands out the most to me. There's a lot of awesome color work in this series, multiple different times. And I'm trying to think, the like big samurai dude with the hammer that she fights that has like the red eyes and the red flames around him, like it's like straight out of a freaking Souls game, dude. I as soon as that happened, I was like, dude, this is awesome. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I made the comment earlier to Nick while in Discord that there were a lot of moments while watching this where I'm like, this would be a sick video game.
Yeah, dude, it's very gamey. Yeah,
from like the stealthing around, going to the island where she's trying to get up to the 9th floor to get Fowler, and just the fighting. Like the fighting would be so cool in a video game.
Yeah, dude, for sure. It's go ahead, Nick.
No, I was gonna, like the things that stood out to me when I was like, oh, this would be a cool video game is at least like the final boss fight, which happened twice in the series, right? Where you enter this boss fight mode, and I'm like, dude, this is just like a video game boss fight where you have an otherwise like normal like person, like no special abilities about the person other than like they are just the boss.
They just got the brute strength. Like this dude was crazy strong.
And I thought they did an excellent job like throughout the series. Like you have this insanely mastered swordsman person, but can easily get beaten down or overtaken. Like it isn't like she's not OP. Mizu is not OP, and really no characters in it are OP because everyone's pretty open to getting sliced up.
Right,
and Mizu gets pretty tore up throughout the whole series, which makes the fights engaging and really good.
The one really cool thing about this show throughout the season is the emotion that you feel. Like you really feel what she's going through. Like The part with her mom and husband, you know, before she went out, or like the moment where she gets trapped under the door of the Thousand Fists, and like, how is she going to get out of this? And that I constantly ask myself this question throughout the series, like, or the season. How is she going to get out of this? There's no way she's going to get out of this, and then she does.
Yeah,
she's smart, and like things just click in her mind, like through flashbacks. She gets like this surge of energy or whatever it is, and she just takes out like 50 of these guys.
mm-hmm.
Oh, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, man. It really does feel like it really does feel like you're watching like a live action Sekiro, because you're getting like multiple different boss fights too. Like the monkey thing was like straight out of a video game, like 100%.
That was wild.
I loved it. Yeah, absolutely loved it. But the other thing that I think the reason I enjoyed this so much is because it's an animated series, could very easily have been turned into like a G-rated samurai thing, but it's not. Like, this is very violent, very vulgar. There's a hell of a lot more animated cocks than I thought I was going to see in any show in my life, just in this one season. So
like, it's not even like, there was obviously the very like abrasive moments where there's just tons of cocks, but then there was just like like later on in the show, once we got like they get you past that, like there's just casually just like
they're just casually everywhere
hanging around, you know.
Yeah, it's just casual. But I think that's what made this stand out the most, because you see the violence in anime, but you don't see any of that other stuff in anything that's coming out of Japan that I've watched, at least. But yeah, there's a huge, I think there's a huge drawback to Kill Bill here. I mean, they used the like main Kill Bill song. I don't remember what it's called, but in one of the episodes, yeah, like through and through. It's a common song. It's not like a Kill Bill specific song, but it's used specifically in Kill Bill. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, it's like a animated version of Kill Bill in feudal Japan is the best way to put it, because if you have a female character who's very strong, who, you know, they call her the blonde haired warrior or golden haired warrior, so little drawbacks to Blue Eye Samurai. But
the thing that I liked that they didn't like Hollywood it, where like, yeah, she's a woman, like they didn't like over dramatize her, like at the end, like, I'm a woman, you know, like,
right,
she didn't want to be a woman.
You said it, Dad. Like, she's a very classical Mulan complex, and
I love dude, you took it right. Damn it, I was gonna get to that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, she wanted to be a warrior. Like, she had vengeance on her mind, and she was gonna get it. Any means necessary.
This is certainly, and I said this a couple episodes into it, maybe even on the first episode. Like, this is an adult, violent Mulan story in Japan versus China. So if you took Kill Bill, Mulan, mixed it all up and threw it into Japan, that's exactly what this is.
And like an arcane animation.
An arcane animation, yeah.
And then you have this breakout season. And you mentioned the period of Japan here a couple times, Chad, and it's the Edo period, which is the 17th century, but it's like the 300-year period by the Tokugawa shogunate.
Yep.
Was all 300 of these years when they closed their borders to all outside?
Yeah, and that's why you're seeing, and I think that's why there's only maybe 4 of these people in the country that she's searching after. But yeah, it's right around that area. It's not quite into the 1800s where the guns become more prominent and all the stuff becomes more prominent, but it's closing in on that time frame when all the Meiji stuff happened in Japan, where they overthrew the Tokugawa shogunate and took over and kind of westernized Japan and took them out of their feudal like caveman days, I guess the best way to put it. But I do like seeing, and I always like seeing this in anything about feudal Japan in this time frame, just the balance between like firearms and then there's like people that are still using swords, and just how violently uneven it is for the people that are using swords. You know what I mean? And they do it really well in the final episode here, where they have like all the archers up on the thing, and they like shoot one arrow and then they all just get blasted away by the guns.
Blasted away. And they're just like casually walking through, like
without any resistance whatsoever. Yeah.
No, they tried to resist, but they could not.
Yeah, they did not do a good job. But
the period piece part of this show was beautifully done. Very enjoyable to watch this time period.
And that's the thing; it isn't all just like hack and slash too. Like the show slows down, and they and also I love shows, and this is also a thing with period pieces. But this one specifically, shows that take thematic themes to an episode where the episode is stand out different than the other episodes. Like each episode has a different theme that's going on, and usually around those themes they are exploring very specific like Edo period Japan things, right? And I had to Google some stuff, and like a lot of this is like specific to Japan at this point in time, whether it's the way women are handled in society as like property, or like the 21 positions or whatever, the whole like sex thing, right?
Yeah.
Even in like the weird stuff in the brothels, and the just when they talk about having like why is it a big deal that there's 4 white men in here? Well, because there's not supposed to be any. And then gets a little political there toward the end, because like the shogun made an exception because he just wanted money. He liked the offer from these Western traders. So there's just so much that goes on in and around our central character, which is great. And really by the end of it, like it opens up way beyond like an essential character, because they leave so many kind of breadcrumbs for otherwise characters you're like, that person's gonna die, or like that person's just like a side character. So many characters I did not expect.
So many.
Like very supporting characters.
But they fit. Like they were woven in so well. Like Ringo. Freaking loved Ringo. He was amazing.
So loud and obnoxious, and just
with the
narrates everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Oh god, that was my favorite. Like in the last episode, like he just saw Shogun, and like they all walk away. He's like Shogun, and like gets
he's great. I really like Akemi as well. I loved seeing her storyline through the whole thing. Was phenomenally great, well done. And I think it's nice to see 2 female characters, one that grew up in royalty and one that grew up kind of on the run and in hiding, and how their paths separated. But yeah, her story's phenomenal. I will say the only thing that I wasn't the biggest fan of is like and I don't know why. I don't know if it's his accent, but the like Fowler. I don't know. I just wasn't vibing with Fowler for whatever reason.
Really?
Until that final episode, then I was like, all right. We see him do some really weird shit that I actually thought was hilarious. The Tengu mask thing was freaking phenomenally hilarious, dude. Like the nose on the like. We won't get into details, but I'm sure if you watch the show, you know exactly what we're talking about. That came out of left field. I don't know. I just feel like I needed a little bit more depth, but I get kind of towards the end. The path the story takes at the end is he's not the guy that she's really looking for. And I think they show that with his green eyes at the end of the show. So
I feel like I felt that way because, obviously it has to be a reason for the 2 more
right.
Lined up with him. General.
We knew that there were 4.
Yes.
And if she would have gotten her revenge, it would have been over.
Right.
She had already killed the first one.
I thought she probably killed all of them regardless.
Like, I mean, there's no way to really tell. Yeah, she's going to go after all 4 of them regardless. I agree, because there's no way back then, especially to tell who's actually her father. You know what I mean?
You're not the father.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. That's I'm not crazy about the path the story took at the end. Where she's heading at the end seems weird.
Kind of straying away from.
Well, yeah, we're just like, why are we going to London as a samurai? It seems really bizarre. But it could be sweet, and they might do it right. But I just feel like if you're going to make a show called Blue Eye Samurai, maybe they should stay in Japan. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But they're taking creative risks.
And it might pay out. Sometimes I'm wrong about these things. There's a lot of things that
I hope
hate
you
the
are,
idea of.
Respectfully,
Yeah.
I hope you're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't. I think that's fine because there's enough threads back in Japan where we're gonna have a lot of stuff still happening in Japan, and obviously Mizu will make it back there. I think sooner than later. I couldn't imagine like an entire season of her running around London Assassin's Creed style, like I'm thinking the Assassin's Creed, like 17th century, like that. Those games could work. I don't think it's gonna last too long unless like totally just sidetracks into like China. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Because who knows where they end up? They may not make it to London for a while.
Well, that's a long trip.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. And I'm here for it. I just hope it doesn't become the entire second season. Like I'm good for like a solid 4 episodes maybe in London before we find out this dude scrambled back to Japan or something.
Well,
you know,
it would take a very long time to get there.
Yeah.
To London.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
the entire production of the second season, that's about how long it's going to take him to get there.
I mean, I don't think that they're going to go straight, like get there right away, unless they do a crazy time jump.
Yeah, and they could. Yeah, they could. Because I don't know that there's a lot. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to tell on the sea. Yeah.
Right.
They do a little bit of time jumping, and I thought it was really cool. One of my favorite episodes is also one of my most unsure episodes is where they're telling the tale, right?
I was going to say
during the fight scene in the brothel, like that was all just so insane, and then the way it came together at the end, that was thematically
so awesome,
an awesome episode. And that was weird though because that episode is such a cliffhanger before it because it's just all of the fang. Is it the fang? No, the fangs or the 4 fangs. 1,000
fists. That's what I called it earlier.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I guess got to at least start the next one because this is gonna be insane. But then it like completely like left fields and like is doing something really thematically cool, and it pays off completely at the end of the episode. But about halfway through, I'm like, we're doing a lot of back and forth, like really drawing this out, and like she's like dying, but so cool. The way like she has this alternate life altogether.
Yeah.
In her dreams, I guess, because she was definitely dreaming it because she was speaking it when she was like halfway knocked out. So it's interesting that she has this dream state where she completely lives this different life. And speaking of like the emotion in that, like they didn't need to do it, but like for whatever reason, like obviously to show why she's so like monstrous is letting her husband and her mother like fight, and she just turns her back on both of them.
Walks away.
Yeah.
And then has to kill him because he kills her mother, and she's like, "Well, now that's an easy choice."
Right.
Yeah. That was insane. But then like the transition to like
that was probably one of my favorite episodes. I like that one a lot.
I agree.
The transition to the mask thing, like with the gold teeth and like the monster thing, was just incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. But the 4, what did you say the name of the 4 dudes were? Dude, they're badass. Their designs are so cool, dude. The masks, everything about them, even though they kind of and the whole fight. Yeah. And the whole fight scene like on the cliff was awesome, dude. Yeah. So cool.
Well, from the first moment you see them at the whatever the noodle place.
Yeah.
Where we meet Ringo, after the dude already gets like his fingers chopped off by Mizu.
Yeah.
And then these guys come back and he's starting to run his mouth again. I'm like, dude, have you not learned?
Yeah, you didn't learn your lesson the last time. Yeah.
And they just tear him apart. I knew I was gonna love just their design and like however they were gonna be introduced later on.
Yeah, they almost. I mean, I think they could have been used maybe a little bit more. Because you don't. Well, you get like 3 episodes of them, right? maybe.
Yeah,
even,
but not much until the third time you see them with the fight.
Right.
You
But
just
I
see
feel
them
like they
riding.
could have been on her trail the entire time. You know what I mean? Popping up wherever she's popping up at.
Well, they like
ring wraith style. That's what they reminded me of. I don't know why that popped
I
in
mean,
my from Lord of the Rings, but
before they get to her, you know, the people are at the gate. You know,
Yeah.
people are
dude,
paying
that
to
was
get in.
brutal.
And
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
so brutal. I loved it. Yeah,
like, man, ain't gonna stop these guys.
yeah, yeah. They were definitely super awesome. I just wish that we got more of them.
Yeah, but though at least we got more of the main one, and once again, all that sword, like whatever master's name is, that took her in, all that is just so cool too. Like they spent a lot of time detailing like the making of the swords,
which was
Yeah.
amazing.
the
Great.
impurity, like it can't be pure; it needs some more impurities in it, and like the metaphor to her, and just like the fact that he's blind and like can't like really see her, and she like slowly admits to him like different things about her. I don't know if he ever fully did. She ever fully tell him that she was a woman?
I don't
I
think
feel like
don't
she was
think
going
so,
to, and he
no.
kind of like stopped her. Like it was all the way at the end when she finally was about to go off on her journey. Like she was about to say that, but like omitted it because he was just like, you know, go do your thing, kind of.
Yeah,
the whole sword thing was sweet.
So good, dude. Yeah, that entire storyline is awesome. And then even at the end there, where she's like making her own steel, like they did such a good job of showing how they actually did that back then. So yeah, I loved everything about the sword making stuff. That was super cool and a nice kind of chill from the main, you know, cock and blood fest that we were getting on the main story.
The one thing I didn't understand that the blacksmith constantly did, I think Master Iji sounds right.
Yeah.
But he would have to specifically point out a specific piece of wood that he wanted. Like what's the difference between the wood?
Because that's the one that had the least. Sorry.
The what?
That's the one that had the least amount of pressure on that piece from all the other pieces around it.
Oh.
Because he had to live by the sound of things.
Yeah.
So when he hit the wood, he knew that was a good piece to take because he could just pull it out easily. It's like Jenga, you know.
Yep.
But by sound.
What about the ones on the top? They have the least amount of pressure.
Apparently, he didn't see those ones.
Yeah.
He just thought it was a wall of wood.
Yeah.
Wall of wood. Yeah, he's super cool. Yeah, the way they spent so much time like doing those details is so important to like any of these series.
Right.
And then how she learned to be a samurai, like because all the swordsmen would come there and like she would watch them. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I love that part. I love the part where the dude's like trying to act like an innocent.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up being an assassin. Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, man, I love. I'm a sucker for any samurai story that shows them like traveling town to town, and that's really what this was. And it's just like honestly, I couldn't put it down, to be honest with you. And you caught me in such a weird time too, because like I'm playing Alan Wake 2. I have my bubble over here. The problem with it is right before I bought Alan Wake 2, I was in between that and a samurai game. And I had made the decision that I need to play Alan Wake 2. I do so much samurai shit that Alan Wake 2 needs to be my focus. So I get Alan Wake 2, I play it for like a week, and Dad's like, hey, we're going to watch this for the podcast. Start watching it. Put on the first episode. I'm like, damn it, here it comes. I feel the itch. I feel the itch coming. And I ended up buying that samurai game and playing it. So,
What samurai game?
It's called Fate Samurai Remnant. It's like super JRPG, not in English. Super nerdy, but it's really good. It's really good. It's, you ever heard of Dynasty Warriors?
Yeah.
It's like a Dynasty Warrior style game with more of a focus on story, less of a open just battle system. But yeah, I played it for like the first 5-6 episodes. I was like, no, I got to stay on Alan Wake. I told myself I was going to play this freaking game by the end of the year. I can give it a fair shake for game of the year. But yeah, it doesn't take much. Honestly, like the opening 20 minutes of this, I felt the itch. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm downloading Ghost of Tsushima right now.
And like all the character arcs are pretty solid, but Mizu has such a dynamic arc too. But because you mentioned it, Chad, the town to town, like wandering samurai, that was like the first 4 episodes to a T, and it was perfect. Like because
so good.
Mizu is super mysterious, super stoic, right? I love that character, right? And that's also a very easy palette for someone to project themselves onto to be a samurai, because that's just what anyone wants to be. Just like a quiet, like I will slice you in half,
right?
If you cross me, and that's the whole vibe, and it was just perfect. But luckily, even though they steer heavily away from that, they make up for it by being a lot of good reasons for that, and I'll see a very good story coming from all that. But I did miss just that traditional
traveling,
straw hat, just samurai, or what's the one without a master? Why am I forgetting?
Ronin.
Ronin, yeah, it's just the Ronin vibes, just too good.
And
not
then
the sword and the sword modification from the weights from the plate under the door and that connects to the story because he teaches her like best for. I was like, what?
Yeah. So
the
good.
First time she takes those weights off in the dojo, after she fights everybody, I'm like, oh my gosh, she did all that with those weights on. She's about to murder somebody. Like even that was really cool. Just added more depth to her.
For
and
sure.
Remind you that she puts them back on. Like a lot of times, like you get past that point and they're just off. But like no, they didn't show it, but like she puts them back on. So you have to remember on a second rewatch that she's still wearing those as often as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then she doesn't take them off in that brothel fight until like the end, and like makes the freaking spear thing. What's it called? Chad?
So she makes it. It's a naginata, I think it's how you say it. Maybe. Right. That was cool. That was definitely cool. And I think it's her blue sword on the tip of it too, right?
Yeah, correct.
She makes it with the sword, which was awesome.
Samurai sword, and it connects to like her 4 weights.
And so cool. I have to talk about the freaking design of her sword. Like I'm a total, like Demon Slayer everybody has different design swords in Demon Slayer, so I'm a sucker for these like little. But the freaking blue with the like wave marking on it, oh dude! Every time
it makes me want to buy a samurai sword.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
I need.
I always want to buy. I always want to buy one, so it doesn't take much. But
oh man,
like a legit $4,000 one.
Oh yeah, that believe it or not,
is low end.
Might be on the low end. Yeah,
really.
Some of these swords, if you want to get like a legit handmade one that was made in Japan, they're every bit of tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh my goodness!
Look at what it takes,
but worth it. Yeah,
I mean,
and if you look, there's a really good documentary on YouTube about a swordsmith in Japan. If you just see like what the hell they have to go through to make a single sword, like it's absurd. It's absurd what they go through. So it's justifying the price if you can afford it, and it's not only a badass piece of history, but they're freaking gorgeous too. Like the real ones are just stunning to look at.
That's awesome.
Gotta give me one
someday.
And then we can practice sword fighting.
Yeah, ding up your $10,000, $17,000 sword.
See, that'd be the thing.
Playing through bone.
Yeah. For sure.
That'd be my issue with fighting. I'd be like, oh no, it's too.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Don't hit my sword. Let me get my $500 sword.
Right.
And then die. You slice through it and me.
These are the things in the apocalypse where it's like legit finding like rare epic upgrades. Like you're in a house and you're like, oh shit, a legit samurai sword.
I'll be going to Chad's. He's got one back there. I don't know how much it was, but it's
something
you can I don't have.
So Jake, who we had on the podcast before, has a couple really good videos where he looks over like some actual historical samurai swords that he borrows from a friend. They're so cool, dude. So cool. But if you want to get one that's like legit, like the one I have behind us, that's got like, this is obviously like a $200 one off of freaking Amazon or some shit. But the fittings and stuff, if you want to get like that stuff's expensive too. So you can get just the one that just has the like wood handle and the wood sheath. But if you want to get like one outfitted with all that stuff, it's even more expensive. But
awesome. So much for Christmas this year, kids.
Yeah, right. Sorry,
kids. Everyone gets a samurai sword.
Yep.
So did you guys like Taigen?
Not at first.
Not at first.
Not at first. He seemed like a little B-face.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely did not like him in the beginning. He just had that like really arrogant dude that's probably not as good as he thinks he is. And she whoops his ass too the first time. Right? Now granted, he says like he was drunk or whatever.
He was drunk, right?
But either way, regardless. But as his story progressed, I started to like him, and then by the end of the story, I loved him.
He had a good arc. He
had a great arc. Yeah.
And there was one. The problem I had there was I would constantly forget that only Ringo knows that she's a woman.
Right.
So the sexual tension scenes, like in retrospect with her and Taigen,
right,
where they're rolling,
like it happened twice, where they had those moments, and I'm just like, oh yeah, he like knows, but then like it isn't until like after the fact, I'm like, wait, he doesn't know. That
makes it weird, yeah.
That explains. I'm like, that's why he instantly was just like, oh, I must be missing my girlfriend or whatever.
Well, I mean, do you think like the bodies know? Like,
you know what I mean? Like, they're basically saying that there is like a natural attraction there, and like he's not even attracted to her just because she's a woman. Like he just has like an attraction toward her without even knowing she's a her. And I'm just like, that's pretty intense too.
So the one of the main problems I have with the show is that nobody knows she's a girl. Like it's abundantly clear in every capacity. She sounds, she's the only one. She's shaped like it. She sounds like it. Yeah. Like nobody's like, wait a second.
You're kind of scrawny.
You sound so much like a girl. Even the blind dude could tell, I think, in my mind, you know? Like he can't see.
Knows. Ringo knows because he straight up just saw. But so does main bad guy. He knows by the end. Because it's like your bones break like a woman.
Like a woman, yeah. Brutal.
He's like, oh.
He was such a douche.
So the episode that I really kind of fell in love with Taigen is the episode where they go to meet Fowler's like
right-hand man.
Guy is right-hand man. That whole episode is so well put together. Everything from them trying to get her into that sake barrel, and then at the end you realize that he's in the sake barrel. He actually is in the sake barrel at the end. And then everything from them running from the arrows, and then Ringo coming in and saving the day with his handless sword riding. I don't know how that worked, but
dude, that whole sequence was amazing, where he took out the big dude by like poisoning him and then kicking him off the cliff, to like their standoff in the middle of this big opening.
And I also love that Tengen's like, he's lying. They don't have whatever it was, 10,000 archers out there, and then you see the arrows come shooting. Yeah, it's so good.
Another situation.
That's really when it started changing for me on my opinion on him. You know what I mean? Because he was just like a cocky guy that got beat, and now he's out for this senseless revenge tale.
He's like, I need this contract. I need my rematch.
Yeah, right.
It's the blind honor thing that like those privileged like samurai would have, where it's like, oh, I lost the one fight, I must restore my honor. Everything goes out the window.
Right.
You need a contract in writing that we're going to have a duel.
No, but you see
that the reason they're like that because Kemi's father like even condemns him after he loses. Like, yeah, you're not marrying him. Like, he lost. It's like something so minor as he got his top knot cut off is like, oh my gosh, like throw this guy into the dumps.
It's perfect slice. Like, only the best could have done something like that.
And I love him like admiring it. He's like, it's perfect slice.
Oh yeah, it's like that meme. It's like probably thinking of another woman. Well, actually, he is. But also like in that, I think that episode too was like the first time where it's the same vibe that like an Ocean's movie gives you, or any kind of heist movie gives you, where like you don't really know what's happening and you don't know what is like real until they show it to you. Because there was so much like double, triple, like trying to like scam each other in that scene, and then later it happens big time, obviously in the finale, with like who is really pulling the, who's gonna kill the Shogun, right? So like two main times that happens, and it's just like a cool thing because you're like, who's lying, and like, is Mizu really gonna get in that barrel? No, Mizu's not really gonna get in that barrel. Like,
and
that dude hates Fowler, but like he
does. Dude. So even now I don't know like was he just lying at that point? Because he sounded so like sincere about hating the dude.
Well, he was trying to get the guns before Fowler did. He was trying to undermine him.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to take it, because then after that he's basically back with him and everything seems,
because he has to be
kosher. Yeah.
But like that, he's still trying to undermine Fowler with one of the councilmen or one of the advisors to the Shogun. So like that is a thread. I don't know if he really would have let Mizu kill Fowler, right? Or that was just like a convenient lie that was easy to tell because it was believable, because he really does hate Fowler and would like to see him dead.
Well, he had been working for him for a long time.
I mean, yeah, essentially it just seems like the Shogun agreed to this deal and like he got stuck with Fowler and like housing him. And like Fowler's just like a despicable human being that like, he's like having a roommate. You know what I mean? Like
despicable white guy.
You don't want the giant, nasty Irishman being like his roommate. Like, he's disgusting. And I don't know what the like whole cheese curds thing was about, but like, Fowler loved that shit. I don't know if it's just cottage cheese or what, but
basically,
it's cheese. Yeah, it's cheese curds. It's what the freaking Canadians put on their French fries. It's not cottage cheese. It's not cheese. I don't know. I've never had it. It's supposed to be good. It looks disgusting. But yeah, that's definitely not going to vibe on the palates of Japanese people by any stretch of the imagination, especially back then.
Again, a cool cultural detail like they throw in there.
Yeah.
They're like, this is milk. This is from cows. Like, what are you feeding me?
They really did their research. That's for sure.
They did, man, and it's weird because the
black teeth,
the black teeth thing. Yeah, I mean that was a thing.
That's crazy.
So weird. It's so weird to me in my mind because that was like the perfect woman back there was like pale skin, black teeth, which is, at least for us in America, the total opposite of what we want. We want tan girls with white teeth, right?
Well, I mean, it's like in medieval times, like heavier women, pale women were, because they were in the castle, they weren't working the fields. If you were tan and like dirty, like that was looked down upon because you were a peasant.
If you were out in the fields.
Clean and pale, you were of nobility. Same thing here. Even though the black teeth doesn't look attractive, the function of it, because it preserves their teeth into old age, is the attractive part. So like they're not so much attracted by the appearance like we are in America. They're more
the status. Yeah, right.
Which is so cool.
I
mean, it's more culture tradition rather than that looks cool.
Yeah,
or not.
And then. I mean, it was pretty shocking for me to find out that this wasn't a Japanese animation, like because they nailed so much of this stuff so well. Not that obviously Japan does too, but I feel like this takes it up a notch, and you can tell, and it's almost like the Ghost of Tsushima thing, where it's like the Japanese people are talking about the show and how amazing it is. The same they were about the American game Ghost of Tsushima that was made about their history.
Well,
I think Hideo Kojima, who does Metal Gear Solid, Death Stranding, those games, came out and said like this is awesome. So that's cool, and that's got to be cool for the creators of it that they're getting the support from Japan on it.
I mean,
awesome.
they pulled it off, and they
did
it very accurate.
I do wonder, you know, the same way like you said, Dad, like Hollywoodized. Like I wonder if there's certain like culture, like probably someone foreign that really studied American history could probably make a really cool American like period piece, because they're gonna like pick on like the weirdest details that we otherwise probably aren't going to pay attention to or care about, because we're gonna be maybe slightly ashamed or embarrassed of it, and we're like, that's not cool. Whereas like if we're making one about Japan, they're not gonna be like, oh, we're not gonna highlight like the way we treated women and like the things that like we were culture. We're kind of not ashamed of it, but it's not something we want to highlight.
Right.
So I think maybe that's why, because these people, non-Japanese, like studied and they're like, that's cool. That's interesting. That's different.
However,
they
showed how they treated women, but then you had Akemi who she wanted her own thing. Like she wanted greatness. Like she's told that to Tegan. Like he wanted to go. And that's what she wanted in the beginning. She wanted out of that.
Yeah.
And then now she's embracing it. She wants that greatness. She wants that power because she's been told what to do for so long. Even though she was very outspoken, now she can finally have that, because I don't remember what his name is. The dude that raised her, who died on the bridge. He like kind of helped her get to that point. Like, he realized that you need to do your own thing. Like, and it was done so like,
organically.
It wasn't forced. It was just like, you took a character who was already like that and desired so much to be her own woman. And it felt natural, like not forced.
It did. Yeah, I agree.
Not Americanized, but like legit. Like she had been like really pushed under a thumb, and now she's got her freedom. You know, now she can do things.
Yeah, I like how
awesome.
She fought it the whole time, but then Madam Kaji told her, like, you have all the like things at your disposal to have absolutely all of that freedom. Is like you are in the perfect position to do that. You just have to think about it a little differently. And fun note, Madam Kaji is voiced by Ming-Na Wen, who is in The Mandalorian. She is Fennec Shand as well.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I think Akemi is up there for my favorite arc of the entire show. And it's exactly what you guys just said, that she starts out of this woman that just wants out of everything, and then it finally arrives at a point in the story at the end where she can get out of everything and chooses not to. And it's all about making her own decisions. She wants to make her own decision, and now she's choosing by herself to stay. And
she can. She doesn't have her dad telling her what to do.
Yeah.
He's alive. That was very nefarious when she's like, under my care. I'm like, what is she gonna do?
That's what I was wondering too, man. I was like, is she gonna just like, I'd love to see. I can't wait to see where that goes. But it was a nice little twist to see, like, she goes and like confesses to her dad that Fowler's coming with an army, and he like already knows about it. So that was a cool twist.
Yep.
But I want to go to her like wedding feast thing, and like screwed up crap they were feeding her, like pigs' livers with horse semen on them for like something specific.
A bowl full of blood. That was for the
pig
fertility.
Blood. Yeah, for fertility. And then I can't remember what the other one was, but it was equally as screwed up.
Longevity. There's a lot of different.
Yeah. And then the bird.
And then the bird, man. Yeah, brutal. And then again, that was like a nice little, because you're assuming that the husband is the vile person in this, but it actually ends up being his mom, and he like I got you those 2 birds to apologize for my mother's freaking nightmare dinner we just went through.
Some of the women were very, very douchey for sure.
Well, they because those were an apology, but it was just because they framed it like he was just trying to torture her more, right? Like it's just complete hearsay, or just like the mystique that like the castle ran about who they were or who he was. But like she confronts him and like, oh, this is why he doesn't really speak to anyone. He has a stutter, and his mom like tells him like, don't talk to anyone, you dummy, because you have a stupid and like that was also cool. And like then she used her notes from Madame Kaji to like position herself to be like his caretaker, like to gain his trust and like gain power by establishing that relationship.
I just appreciated the twist that it wasn't him, because you see so much in these stories. There's always like the High Lord. That's 13 Assassins, perfect example. The guy they're going after in 13 Assassins. That's who I thought this was going to become, like the dude that just likes killing and torturing people. And so it was cool to see them not take that path. And he's like actually the chill one, and the mom's psychopath. But Kemi's storyline is it might be the top for me. Obviously, I like all the Mizu stuff. That's what the story is about. But I think it's just as important that it's this story's going on at the same time to show them like balancing back and forth between what 2 different paths for 2 different women would have ended up being like.
Yeah,
I guess they are both main characters because they're central to. They're the only ones that independently have stories that are happening independent of Mizu.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everyone's always connected to either of them. Yep. No one really else outside of like the Fowler like cutaways where we see what he's doing gets like dedicated scenes focused on them. So really, they're the main independent characters.
Yeah. Although there are, when they decide to kind of go into a story of somebody, especially Madam, whatever, the girl that she takes in from her abusive dad. That was rough.
It was real rough, dude.
Like,
yeah.
And then like you could tell in Mizu in her face that she did not want to do that. Yeah. When she had her, like I felt like she was gonna like run away or like get her out of there and save her.
So here's the funny part. Maybe I just totally missed it, but I thought that's what she was going there to do, was to save her. And then she killed her. I'm like, what in the hell?
Well,
like I must have missed a line of dialogue.
That's what she told her to do, basically. To make it look like an accident.
Yeah, because Madame Kaji, at first, Mizu was like, oh, yeah, I can kill him easy. But he's like, not him, her. And she's like, oh.
Yeah. So when she did that, I was like, wait, what the hell is going the hell is going on?
It's a mercy kill, essentially.
Yeah.
Except,
but
damn kid. Like, I knew that wasn't a good idea. I'm like, come on, Mizu, just slice the kid in half already.
I think she learned her lesson really fast, because after she took out the whatever they're called, the clan, the 1,000 Claw or whatever.
1,000 Claws.
There was a younger member like cowering, by barrels or whatever, and she didn't hesitate.
Right.
Killed him.
Yeah. Yep.
No mercy, man.
She like goes from being hinged to like completely being unhinged.
Yeah.
Balance. She tries to balance it, but there's no balance.
Well, I mean, that's the tricky part about vengeance. Like how can you go into something completely like level-headed?
That's what I liked about the whole arrow, like, let's go have tea. Like, she was like, so what if it's a trap? It gets me closer. I don't care. Like, everything's going to die. Let it be a trap. I don't care.
She's led by vengeance.
Oh, yes.
Which was really fun. I love a good revenge story.
I also love the entire final episode. So this entire fire is actually a real thing that happened, and in Edo, and the name of the episode is The Great Fire of 1657. Didn't happen anything like it did in the. I literally think it was like an accidental fire that like a priest or something set on fire in the city. But it was cool to tell. I love. Not that this is really that. I guess that you can look at it, but I like alternate history stuff. No matter where I see it, I always love it. Whether it's The Man in the High Castle or Inglourious Bastards or any of that stuff. So it was cool to see, like, oh, okay, maybe this is what actually happened. It wasn't a priest that set something on fire on accident.
It's her throwing 90%. A candle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess like all the like, I don't know if it's irony, but all the just like little payoffs in that episode, whether it's like Fowler point out is like, oh yeah, your little vengeance thing just burned down the whole city. Like, what's the deal there? Like, you got some white in you, you know, like that's what a white person would do. But then also Taigen, where he's like, he dies by the sword. Like after being tortured by him, I was like, oh yeah, he did torture him. Fowler didn't want anything to do with that, but that dude was just enjoying torturing Taigen, and then he just down
that was rough.
Down the shoulder and through the chest and all the good innards.
Some
of these kill shots, man.
Oh, so
brutal.
Good.
So brutal.
Yeah.
My wife does not at all watch like what she would call cartoons or like animated. So like last night she was watching shows down here and I was like, hey, I need to watch like my show. She's like, you can just take over. She was like falling asleep. So, but the episode was episode 6 where Fowler and his boy are going on like the trip to Edo.
Oh,
so
it's
up like brothels, weird shit.
Yeah.
Octopuses. She's like, what's going on?
What are you watching?
That
I used to like cartoons like that. I'm like, she's like, it's like HBO. I'm like, yeah, essentially.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, it's definitely weird because so I'll be fully. I made a blunder of an error on the first episode of this and let Brady watch it.
I knew.
And you see the first animated, in it, and he's like, "What the heck?" I'm like, "All right, never mind. Maybe we're
done here.
We're done here. Maybe you can't watch this." Which sucks because he would.
But how would you know?
This.
You wouldn't have known.
No, I had no idea. Yeah, I mean,
well, Price said
I didn't expect it.
Not at all. What'd you say?
Price said nudity, like when it says like the rating.
So it did, it did say nudity, but there's a lot of stuff,
women,
especially in anime, that says nudity, where it's like where I think they have much stricter rules on what nudity is. So if you see like a girl's cleavage, that's nudity in Japan. So it's like, I mean, we see that all the time in Demon Slayer. So
you didn't know it was American French yet.
I didn't know it was American French yet.
Yeah.
And really seeing that first one come out, I was like, well, that's definitely not something that would be in a Japanese anime. At least none of the ones that I've ever watched.
I guess the first episode was at least mild compared to the rest of the series. So at least maybe that was the warning it gave you before.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there is a sex scene maybe in the first episode that was after that initial animated, part.
Right. Because your girl rides Taigen. Real good.
Yeah. I mean, that is like a deep animated sex scene there, man. And it's like 5 minutes long too.
And she's quoting poetry to him.
Yeah.
So weird. Whatever the Japanese women are into, I guess.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. It's just it really does feel, you nailed it. It feels like an HBO show that's just got an animated spin on it. And it works so well in feudal Japan because, you don't ever see that side of feudal Japan. Very rarely do you see it. So, and then just the same, like if you guys want to go watch, and I don't know what period this movie takes place in. It might be around this same time frame, but it's called Silence. It's a Martin Scorsese movie. It's about 2 Catholic priests that go to feudal Japan, and then all the torment they endure over there. Phenomenal movie. And I don't like religious movies by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not really. It's a Scorsese movie. It's not like a a Christian-led movie. It's his own category. But I just remember when I found that, because I'm a huge Scorsese fan. We talk about it on the podcast.
Who is it in that?
Liam Neeson, Adam Driver,
and Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield. Yeah,
17th century.
Stacked. Yeah, so 17th century. That's Edo period.
Wow.
So, what'd you say?
Adam Driver had been recently, right?
No, it came out
2016.
2016, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's generally it's definitely it's not, you're not going to go in and get like a bunch of samurai action. It's more about them hiding. There's like a whole sect of, and it's funny because they actually still do this in Japan today. Japan has a very violent and terrible history with any religion. So there are still hidden Christians in Japan. Now, they don't have to live in hiding like they do. They do it out of a tradition thing. But that's what this is about, is the hidden Christians in Japan. Phenomenal movie. And I loved it. It's a slow, but it's definitely a slow movie. You're not going to get a lot of action. But it's cool to see that you don't ever see that side of Japan where foreigners are coming in without guns and all the violent crap. So,
again, another weird detail and bit of exposition that wasn't needed but was really cool was Fowler talking to Jesus.
Yep, I was just thinking that. I was gonna mention.
And he's like, yeah, whatever, but like, I'll make this whole place Christian for you. Like,
yeah. Well,
at the deal, I get you what you want, souls.
But at the end, he's like, it's not that it matters anyway. I don't need the souls or whatever.
Yeah,
dude.
I think it's because like he's happy to give them to Jesus because he doesn't want the souls. He doesn't need them, but
he just wants the power and control.
About to happen, yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know, his like, and I'm sure there were people in history that were like Fowler, especially probably in Japan at the time. But it's just like, at least for me, like I don't really get it. Like, I don't want to rule a country of foreign people that are almost certainly going to hate me. You know what I mean? I stick out. I have red hair. I'm at least twice as big as everybody in the country. Like, it's just odd. I don't know.
Well, there's a money thing there, like, because it's just like you said, like I didn't get to discover a new continent, so I'll just basically
take one over
my culture completely into your country, which means money and all that jazz.
Well, he also had the whole gun thing going for him, like hey, I have this available. Like, any other country would be like, oh yeah, let's get on board with that.
I also really appreciated the way he smuggled the weapons in. It was like piano legs and lamp tops,
a freaking chess piece
for the top. So yeah, really cool. But yeah, I love this, and this is the period of Japan where, when I think of samurai stuff, this is the period I'm thinking of, where things are starting to change. Things are moving to the future a little bit, but we still have a pretty hefty amount of the population that's stuck in the past. And seeing them, Last Samurai is a prime example of that. That's much later than Edo period. That's after the shogunate falls. But you're even seeing then there's still sects of samurai that are holding on to the old way of doing things.
I don't think I saw that. That's what
The Last Samurai, right? Yeah, dude, it's really good, man. I put it off for the longest time because I was like, I don't want to watch a samurai movie with Tom Cruise in it. It sounds awful. But it's actually
I heard it was really good. Yeah, I heard
it was really good. And most of the arguments, and we talked about it on here before, most of the arguments against the movie are that Tom Cruise is like the white savior of the movie. That's why everybody hates it, because he's a white savior. But if you watch the movie, it's almost quite the opposite, where the samurai actually save him. He's not saving anybody. So I don't know where the people that are saying that did not watch the movie. They just watched maybe the trailer or something.
Yeah, it's just because it's a Hollywood production. They need something, because honestly, American audiences are more likely to go see a movie with Tom Cruise in it. If you were to put that same movie and not have Tom Cruise in it, it would not have made as much money. So
especially back when it came out. Especially
you gotta do these things so people go see it. Otherwise, most Americans aren't going to go see that movie.
Right.
Just
and I think we're seeing that change now, especially with samurai stuff. Like, it's becoming very, like, we got that FX show coming out, Shogun, that looks freaking phenomenal. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, this isn't the 90s anymore.
No, it's not the 90s. Like, this stuff is in hot demand right now.
And it's so good.
And it is. And we get two
Assassin's Creed main title. Of course it's in hot.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
That's how you know what's in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pirates, Vikings.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, next, I think that Assassin's Creed is going to come out next year. I can't wait, man, because I need a as much as it pains me to say it, because I'm a huge anime fan, I'm a huge Japanese culture fan. I hate playing games that aren't in English, like dubbed in English. And there's not. I've played every samurai game that is dubbed, so and even a few that aren't. So I need something to, especially a big meaty Assassin's Creed in that era. I'm going to be all over it, because they do that like Discovery thing too, where you play as like a freaking farmer. Like, I'll be all about that shit, because I love every little bit of that time period in Japan, where I wasn't as attached to that in like Valhalla. I don't give a fuck about Viking farmers or boat makers or whatever. But if that was in Japan, I certainly would care. So I hope they continue that tradition. I hope they stick that back in there, because it's cool to take a break from the violent game of Assassin's Creed and go see what like normal life was back then.
Oh, it's gonna be violent. Samurai.
Oh yeah, it's always
outfits, man. Lots and lots of outfits.
I keep hearing. I hope so, man, and I hope there's no freaking arrow. I hope there's no arrow quivers involved in the outfits. I keep hearing rumors, like the one is certainly true because it leaked, that one character is going to be female, which we knew that going in. But and then I also heard the male character is going to be like an African American male samurai, which there actually is a couple in Japanese history. There's an anime about it on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it. I was like, meh on that, you know what I mean? Like I'd rather just have a Japanese samurai to play as, personally. But
yeah, again, can't have a Japanese samurai to play as unless you are Ghost. He was actually Japanese, so
yeah. Right.
Everything else, it can't be Japanese. It's got to be black or a white guy.
I agree. Yeah, seems weird. Seems weird to me.
I was gonna say something more about Fowler. That dude's just straight rowdy,
dude.
Oh, okay. So slight moment of like emotion in like Fowler. Maybe not for him, but like feeling a little bit for him. But when he was discussing the famine and like his family dying and then his sister dying, I was like,
that went
a little bit, but
that
like
went deep real fast.
I was like, it just keeps going.
He was feeding his sister with his blood.
Yeah.
And then
for like a week,
and got rid of the body and ate her liver.
Yeah.
From
brutal.
that point forward, he would never do anything that wasn't in his control.
I also want to talk about his little sidekick one more time. What's with the keeping of the freaking thumbs, like the chopped off thumbs or whatever he has, like in the little ornate box that he keeps?
Weird little trophy collection, maybe.
I guess so bizarre.
I'm pretty sure they touched on that, but they didn't explain. They didn't relate it to that. But when they offer Mizu the deal, but all she has to do is get her thumb cut off, so she can't wield a sword. That's like a collection of all the people that they've essentially broken down with money. So instead of killing them or like, going the honorable military, they're like, we'll pay you, but you just gotta give us our thumb so you don't pick up a sword and kill us.
So that actually has some historical ties to it, and it's ties to the Yakuza. And I'm sure if you've watched anything Yakuza, it's even in Tokyo Drift. You see a guy at the end that's in the Yakuza that's missing his pinky finger. That was a thing that if you screwed up in the Yakuza, they would take your pinky finger off. And the reason was because those are the fingers that you grip the sword with the tightest. So you can't really grip a sword properly without the pinky. So it had ties back to where Yakuza started, which was samurai era. So I would have probably just made it pinkies. You know what I mean? Like the thumb, that's like brutal. You can't do anything without your thumb. Yeah, you're screwed. You're screwed. You're not grabbing anything without your thumb. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. They just didn't give much, and it's just weird to me. I don't know. Trophy keeping of that magnitude is just, maybe back then it's a little bit more understandable because it was just a weird freaking wild west of violence over there at the time. But there's a story about Army unit that got arrested for murder in Iraq, and the commander of them was keeping chopped off fingers of the soldiers. And I'm like, okay, today, nah, that's weird.
That's
but
like
they were even the guys,
thing.
for sure. And
they were basically serial killers.
They said the explanation he gave is that he was going to keep a bunch of them and then make a finger bone necklace out of it.
Oh man.
Right. And I'm like, and they're like sitting there describing it in this documentary, and they're like, it's so, you're in such a different mindset over there that it didn't seem weird. It's like, yeah, it's normal, whatever. I'm like, I don't know, maybe just from me sitting on my couch, seems pretty fucked up. Thought somebody would have noticed it, but
that's
we get pretty feral when we get off the beaten path of civilization, law and order, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
people get weird ideas.
Yeah, it's clear.
Shindo, that's his name, right? Haiji Shindo.
Yes.
Yeah. He didn't really have to answer to anybody, just be a serial killer, collect things, and no one's gonna ask questions.
Yeah, this describes him as Fowler's nominal jailer and his accomplice. Nominal jailer, that's like the key thing. Like, basically the Shogun is like, you keep an eye on this dude and help him make us money.
Kind of like his fixer, or like
his keeper, his handler.
Yeah.
Takes him to Edo once a year, give him a bunch of money to the Sons. That was cool too, because then you realize Fowler isn't completely under the radar.
Right.
It's an agreement with the Shogun.
Yeah, I definitely I was happy to see him die at the end when Taigen finally, because he's trying to, and it almost, you know what it felt like to me? It felt like Littlefinger trying to plead his case at the end of Game of Thrones before he dies.
He was a Littlefinger.
He was trying to plead his case, and then he just runs out of reasons. Yeah. Like, you're not going to bribe him with money or whatever he was trying to bribe him with. So
I can give you anything. I can give you everything.
Yeah, loved it.
Loved it. Power is power. That's what Cersei said.
Yep.
That's my favorite Littlefinger diss right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Power is power. Outside of him just straight up dying. That's also a good Littlefinger diss too.
One of the best freaking throat cutting scenes of anything I've ever seen. Like, usually when you see somebody in a movie like get their throat cut, they just like drop dead. Well, that's not obviously how it actually happens in real life. So his was like very realistic. Like, they did like some research, some fucked up research to get that, so it's so accurate.
Some video of this. It was like, oh, you remember those videos on the internet back in the 2000s of people getting beheaded? Yeah.
Let's go watch those. Yeah.
Might throw up some flags somewhere. Just saying.
Right.
Is that the part you're talking where he takes his blade and shoves it down the front of him? Where like
when he's holding him up by the arm. Yeah.
Is it the front of him, or does he go in through this way? He's talking about Littlefinger, but
I don't know. Yeah, I was talking about Littlefinger in Game of Thrones.
Okay, no, I'm talking about Tegan and
that is the scene I'm talking about. I don't know that you see which way he goes.
It's kind of
blocked. It's covered. I think it's blocked by something. Yeah.
I think the common point of entry is to do a one of these and then work its way down through the chest cavity, because you don't want to really. You can't really enter cleanly through here because he has too much bone, but you can come straight down through here.
Yeah,
have you seen the trees that they've cleanly swiped through? I mean, these samurai swords are no freaking joke, man.
That's true, but they still have to have a decent entry point. And this is actually one of the things that Sekiro got like accommodations for, is how accurate the kill shots are in Sekiro, because they're hitting like up under the armpit, which was a common area that there was no armor. They're hitting down through the neck in Sekiro, same as here, where there's no armor. And you can see even in Fowler's, because like when he was walking into the castle at the end, he's got his armor. I'm like, why doesn't somebody just slice this dude's neck? And then they flash to him, and he actually has like a plate perfectly cut. Like, you'd have to get the down angle on it to be able to do it.
Dude's big.
Yeah, big guy. Yeah.
Speaking of him, the first time like we really see him in action, when he's got like his group of people with him, and Mizu's climbing up the window, whatever, with doesn't she have Tigan on her back or whatever?
Yeah.
And then the sword goes through the dude. And that whole scene with Fowler was freaking nuts. I'm like, dude, he's just gonna die.
Yeah.
She's not gonna make it through this.
Right.
So then
I mean,
she
I knew
bounces.
you knew because it happened so early, because that's like episode what, like 5 or something. She gets there, so you knew that she wasn't gonna get there and kill the guy, right? Like something was gonna go wrong.
She
But
was
yeah,
hell
that
bent
whole,
on it though, man.
She was, and that's the first time you see him actually fight in any capacity outside of being just like a commander standing
like
over a table.
Boss
Yeah,
fight.
really.
However, we did get a taste of it when they were, I forget what part or what episode, but probably one of the earliest scenes with him in it, where he was talking to probably Shindo, and they come around the corner and we see that guy's face smashed into the chair or whatever.
The chair. Yeah.
All right, this guy's, he's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Not that you guys have seen it, but in Dragon Ball, and that whole ascending the castle is like very reminiscent of like themes in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, but more so in Dragon Ball. There's a series of episodes where Goku takes down like a pretty prominent commander of the Red Ribbon Army, which is the main bad guys in Dragon Ball. But like, there's this tower, it's winter, and Goku has to ascend these levels to get to the boss, who is otherwise just a boring like commander, right? But there's like weird things that he has to get past, like the
traps
monkeys,
and
all of that. Yeah, traps, all of that. And I was like, dude, this is just like freaking Dragon Ball as well.
I thought that was really cool though. That was a very cool sequence.
It's awesome, and it literally feels like a Souls game. Like that's what it reminded. I obviously haven't seen Dragon Ball, so that didn't peak it, but it felt like Sekiro, like going through different areas of Sekiro and hitting mini bosses on your way to the boss. And it's also I think that's also a drawback to the Bruce Lee movie too, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But there is a movie that was maybe unreleased until he died, where he's going up different levels and fighting different people, and he actually fights like Magic Johnson or somebody, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's who he fights at one of them, who for the record is like 3 times Bruce Lee's height, so it's super weird looking in the movie. I think it's Enter the Dragon, but I don't want to say that without looking it up. But that's what I think probably the parallels came from moving up that tower. But yeah, super awesome.
Game of Death?
Game of Death, right? That's it. Yep.
And then Mizu sitting on the roof, like Sekiro style, was also so cool.
Yeah, dude, that was so cool.
Like, yes. Yeah. I was like, I've fully done that in Sekiro.
Right.
I have too. Yeah. Just kind of chilling there. Yeah. Waiting for that perfect shot.
Yeah.
The kill shot.
Yeah. I mean, it was really there's a lot of Sekiro nods there. I don't know if they're even nods per se, but the freaking monkey scene, that was like straight Souls game boss. Like you roll up and there's just this random ass monkey that throws some magical dust in your face and you start tripping balls. Like that was straight out of a video game.
So in the hallway with the big club guy, the humans in the cells where Tigan was at, like, were those just normal people and she was tripping balls and just murdered a bunch of normal people?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think she's tripping balls.
Like vampires.
No.
Well, the dude that he was like, see, like the red eyes and he was on fire.
Yeah, that was the part, because there's that mod I played on Sekiro where a lot of the bosses actually look just like that. They have like glowing pink eyes with like a pink mist around them. So I was like, oh my god, dude, like that's straight out of that freaking Sekiro mod.
I like how where'd she get the grenades?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I missed that.
I don't know where.
She just keep rolling up. She's had a couple grenades, but when she blew up the monkey room and they landed in the kitchen,
yeah, it's so good. Because I love those scenes with the kitchen. The initial scene with the kitchen was great as well. Because she's rolling
in that ice.
Yeah.
And like who said, was it Ringo? You just don't know how to die. Like,
you're not true, man. Dude, this chick got beat up so much, man. Like,
yeah, she took
I'm
a
surprised
beating.
she made it.
Yeah.
And she's not perfect. Like that trap in that hallway, she got speared through the foot, like right out the gate. I'm like, dang, not going well. We're already
Yeah,
on a bad.
yeah, not going.
But
I'm
then
like,
she
might want to
ripped it out.
restart.
I've totally been here in Sekiro, like
Yeah.
fucked up really early. You're like, I'm not gonna make it far.
Yeah.
If I do, it's gonna be rough.
Right.
I'm not hitting these. I'm not timing these parries right. I'm
Yeah.
dead.
Oh man.
But she,
Yeah, I love it, man. I you know, when this came out relatively close, maybe even like the same day or week that another big samurai anime came out, which
think it
is
was the-
Onimusha, which is the other one that I had mentioned. And I feel bad for it because it seemingly has got totally overshadowed by Blue Eye Samurai.
Dragon. That
Almost
sounds
a Blue Eye
cool.
Dragon. That's the
I mean,
sequel.
Cool show.
Mizu's dragon sometimes. She goes ape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like rightfully overshadowed because I watched one episode of Onimusha. Onimusha is an old video game series that has all of a sudden reappeared as an anime on Netflix, as they're so good at doing with Castlevania and I mean, you probably could even say The Witcher now. The Witcher's been kind of absent.
Wait, is it Netflix?
It's Netflix, yeah. And the cool thing about it, Nick, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the old black and white samurai movies. Seven Samurai, Yojimbo, Sanjuro, 13 Assassins. No, that's the old one, maybe. I don't know if he's in the old one. But one of the prominent actors in those old Kurosawa movies is Toshiro Mifune. And he's long dead, but they're using his face model to play Musashi in the Onimusha anime. So it's worth, in my eyes, just watching it for that, because it's cool to see him kind of back in a way, if that's, you can even say that.
I just watched the trailer for this. Dude's arms just like started going out, like stretching out of his body, and then the other dude rips his shirt off and he's just like pulsating with muscles and veins.
Yeah. It's the animation's really good on it. I only watched one episode, and it might be like I said, I think this rightfully overshadowed it. I think this is phenomenal. Not that I'm not saying Onimusha isn't. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but the animation's really good. It's kind of that same traveling samurai vibe going on in that story too. So it's just cool that we're always on like such a low amount of samurai content, it seems like, but it's slowly ramping up. Now we're getting like 2 stellar anime coming out at the same time about samurai. So it's cool.
What I love about this though, it's realistic. I mean, for the most part, like weird, like what I just saw, very human.
Right.
Yeah, this chick has endured a lot of stuff that should have led to death, but for the most part, very realistic.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's because they're going off of Onimusha. In Onimusha back in the day, the best way to describe it, and it might even be Capcom that made Onimusha. It's a samurai Resident Evil. Same way the old school Resident Evil games, the fixed camera. Same gameplay, same exact gameplay, and then you had like zombie samurai that you were fighting. But the cool thing about this is that Mifune face model is on Musashi, who's an actual character from history. He's written a couple books that I've read. Vagabond, the manga, is based off of him. He's all over the place. If you've read anything about samurai, you probably heard of Musashi. So it's cool to see that, because I really want a Vagabond anime, but that's so old, it's probably never going to happen. This might be my closest option to get it, but
I will say, watching this show, Blue Eye Samurai, is making me love samurai even more. And I know I need to, but this is really pushing me to get back into Sekiro. Plus,
you should,
what I think has kind of what?
No, it's just Chad's default answer whenever Sekiro comes.
You should do it.
Well, so you'll also be proud. I finally beat Spider-Man 2.
Nice.
But I think that a lot of the timing stuff with the parries and that, totally different game. I know.
Yeah.
But like getting used to the parries, because I'm not a parry guy.
You will be once you beat Sekiro. You will be.
Right. But I think that kind of like restored faith in myself that maybe I could tackle Sekiro again.
Yeah.
With this mindset of this type of combat.
Yeah, for sure. I
Even
think
though
now that you have a PS5, you really should get Tsushima. Like that's probably more if you want like a chill samurai experience. That's the way to go. Chill and can still be badass at the same time.
Oh yeah, it's a samurai game.
Yeah. Just walk around in dual Ronin all day.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. And on the PS5, it's freaking gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Like that. We say it all the time on the show. I've taken like literally 900 screenshots of that because I cannot stop taking them when I'm playing that game. I'm like, oh my God, this looks so freaking good. I got to take a screenshot, even though I probably have 50 of the exact same thing. I know. I need to go through. I need to go through them just to clear them off because I took a whole hell of a lot in Spider-Man 2 as well. So I need to just go through and clear some of that out because of storage wise.
It's on sale right now.
Tsushima for what?
Yeah, for $30.
Oh, that's steal.
Good Lord.
Steal.
Because
wait,
normally $70.
Hang on a second. Cut? Is it director's cut?
Yeah.
Okay, then yes.
Oh yeah.
Steal.
Get it?
Yeah, for sure.
Full price for director's cut. Well,
yeah.
I used
I did.
I got with buying a PS5, so
I could have upgraded for like $10 or whatever it was, and then I just on principle because they removed that arrow quiver that I bickered about for so long, I bought it at full price.
Is this the game where it was kind of going around online for a while? Like is it real life or is it Ghost of Tsushima? Like they were comparing pictures, like trying to figure out what. Yeah, dude, these graphics look freaking sick.
Dude, they're phenomenal. They're absolutely phenomenal, especially for a game that now that's like the up-res version, the director's cut for the PS5. But even back in the day, like it's just a stunning.
And you get to ride a horse.
Yeah, that's more. This is the perfect. That's the perfect combo of games. Ghost of Tsushima for the like chill, wandering samurai experience, and then Sekiro for the white knuckle, awesome combat experience.
The brutal combat.
Yeah, and this I mean, after watching this is more vibing with Ghost of Tsushima, I think, than Sekiro, even though there are a lot of like boss fight-esque things like in Sekiro in this series. Especially the first couple episodes, her kind of wandering from town to town is very reminiscent.
The atmosphere is Tsushima. The fighting is Sekiro because she totally moves more like Sekiro.
Right.
The way it goes down. And I just keep thinking of the brothel in the hallway between the rooms when she is like cornered and she like does that spin thing and just like slices.
Yeah.
I was like, God.
Yeah.
Damn. This deserves a rewatch. Like I was gonna try and watch it before tonight. But I didn't get to.
First 3 episodes. Like I just want to see Wander and Mizu again.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna rewatch it. It's well worth the rewatch, I imagine. And I just know that it's gonna like. I just know that I'm gonna find myself playing fucking Ghost of Tsushima for like the 17th time because I watched the show. I fought it off for so long, Dad. I fought it off for so long. I was like, I need to finish Alan Wake before we do our year in review, so I can at least give it a fair shot. Right. And it's just
difficult.
It's difficult, especially after I had to watch this because I was between that and that other samurai game.
Yeah,
but Tsushima, when you lose all your shit. And it's cold outside. That third act is so good.
So good, yeah. Dude, you should play. Dad, I think you'd love Ghost of Tsushima, to be honest with you. 100%.
$30.
100%. It's a steal. That's a steal.
Here's a Christmas gift for my son, Patrick.
Yeah, there you go. Merry Christmas, Patrick.
I've already played it, but hey, it's still yours.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll love it. You'll love it, especially if you like this, man. And it sounds like you loved it. So different time frame of Japan. You're not going to see a lot of similarities, and as far as the way people dress or the building structures or any of that.
That's okay.
There's Mongols.
Yeah, you're going to fight a lot of Mongols.
Maybe I'll just kind of like bounce back and forth from Tsushima and Sekiro.
That's the way to do it, man. Every time, well, I don't want to say every time, but majority of the times when I go back to Tsushima, I'm also playing Sekiro in some capacity. Because the one thing that I feel Tsushima kind of lacks in is the combat. It's not as gratifying as Sekiro is.
Sekiro is.
I like going back and forth between the two because I like the big open world to explore in Japan and then doing the combat in Sekiro.
I love it.
Well, anything more to say on Blue Eye Samurai? I say we recommend it. I recommend it.
100%. Go watch it.
I recommend it 100% also.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think you should go watch this, even if you've never watched an animated anything, because it's it's that good. It really is.
Probably not with your kids.
Probably not with your kids. No, learn that one. Learn that one the hard way.
They need a better way to like forewarn people.
I mean, because when they do, it's like small.
The ratings before the chat. Is it rated?
I don't even. Yeah. See, here's the basic problem of my parenting is that I don't even look at it. It's probably rated MA, TVMA.
Oh yeah.
100%. I don't. But there's so much stuff that I feel shouldn't be rated that high. So, Demon Slayer is prime example. But yeah, I'll probably pay a little bit more attention next time, maybe.
Yeah,
and it's just the like and this is kind of like
I want her
ass. This is kind of ass backwards if you think about it. Like I have a problem with like I don't have a problem with my kids seeing like animated violence, but I have a problem with them seeing any kind of animated sexual stuff, which you would really think should be reversed. If it's going to be one or the other, you would think it'd be reversed. But yeah, I don't know. It's just the animated violence stuff to me. This is pretty meaningless in my head.
Yeah, I want her glasses.
I want her glasses. I want her glasses and her freaking hat. Those hats are so.
I want her
cool,
sword.
Yeah, the sword. And I'm almost positive that they'll start making replica. I might just buy a replica version of that sword to.
I mean, I want to go
background.
I want to go as Mizu for Halloween, but Dad has
yes.
But what?
You have an issue with it, Dad?
I don't have an issue with it. It's just that you want to be a chick.
No, I don't want to be a chick. I want to be Mizu.
Yeah,
you just want to be a.
To be fair, she's pretending to be a guy the entire time, and nobody in Japan has any idea for some reason that she's a female.
The first half I get, and that's the part I want to definitely rewatch because like that was like the really cool part where she was like glasses, hat, super low profile. But definitely the second half, it's like, all right, everyone, like
she's
really
her voice.
Her hair down sometimes here. And like,
yeah, right. Yeah, definitely check this out. And I know we said this already, but if you like Mulan and you want like a modern adult version of Mulan, like that's what this is.
This is it. Yeah,
this is it.
Is that
HBO Mulan?
Same time frame, or
so Mulan was Chinese.
Oh, Chinese,
and I'm not sure what. I know virtually nothing about Chinese history. I'm not sure what time frame, what year Mulan was supposed to be set.
I feel like Japanese history is much cooler.
It is. I agree, and I just don't like the aesthetics of Chinese, like that time frame of Chinese history is just, I don't know, the aesthetics are just not vibing. And I also don't think, that's the other thing. I don't think their country is nearly as beautiful as Japan is.
It's crazy. Mulan's time period is like literally 1,000 years before this. That is
really. Well, that shows just how far Japan was trailing behind everything else. You know what I mean? Because you really, I talk about this all the time on here, but I don't know if Dad's ever heard it. The samurai era really ended in Japan when we were like in Wild West time over here. like the late 1800s.
That sounds familiar that you said that. Yeah.
So it's
which is
if
crazy.
You think about, which is insane to think about, that we had guns and trains and all kinds of crazy shit, and they were still swinging sharpened pieces of metal at each other and living in huts.
I would argue it's still cooler.
It is. That's my hang up, is like, I talk about this stuff all the time with like everybody that they don't understand why I'm like, American history is kind of boring. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really have anything as cool as this in my mind.
We're only 200 years old. They are much older.
Right. So I don't know. Like, if I'm like, I get there are people like, especially like older generations that are really into cowboys and Indians. Like, that really doesn't do anything outside of Red Dead Redemption for me.
Right.
So it's just we don't have a cool history. It is what it is.
But with Japan, it's like, I have more respect for them, I think, as a country, because they maintained their identity for so long, and they weren't going to be changed by anybody.
Right. And they're still really,
I
mean, they were really still like that up until World War II, when they were kind of forced to change some things.
Yeah.
But even if you go watch, like, there still seem like they're a very closed off society. Like, you never see any Japanese people that have like blonde hair. Like, they all have the exact same hair color. There's very little variation in their eye colors, their hair colors, their all that stuff. So it seems like, I don't want to say they're still closed off, because they're not. They're certainly not still closed off.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a plane ticket to go over there right now, but there's just something about they're very close knit. You know what I mean? And maybe don't like outsiders, I guess is the best way to put it.
I mean, have you seen the world?
Right.
Do not blame them.
And yeah, that on top of the incredibly violent history that they've had with outsiders, you can't fault them for being a country that doesn't like outsiders, and a country that is against religion. You can't blame them for any of it, because they had such violent histories with both.
I feel like they're pretty wise in most of that, and most of their decision making with that.
Yeah. Do it.
Once again, we've ended an episode with Dad buying another video game.
Yeah.
That is also another. Is that a samurai game too?
Yes.
Okay, so two samurai
games. Finally, breaking the mold.
I still feel like you buy other games too.
Dad's gonna show up the next episode with a kimono on, samurai sword in the background.
I mean, I might have a katana you never know with me.
So if you play a bunch of Ghosts in the next like couple months, can we have like another like a Ghost Part 2 episode?
Dude, I'd love it. Love to. I'd love to do a
Ghost Part 2 with Dad.
Yeah. Well, we still need to do a Sekiro, don't we?
Yeah, but you guys are like trailing behind here.
It's so difficult.
There's no way Nick is gonna accomplish his goal from last year.
So hard.
It's so difficult, man. It's the hardest game I've ever played.
It is. I agree with you 100%. I was in your guys' boat, but you stick with it. I promise.
And
worth it. It's very hard.
I believe
I'm
you.
Not say that it's
I
not.
agree with you. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. There's no way around it. I think it's the most difficult Souls game that there is. And that is, I played Sekiro first, so that might be why it was so hard to me. Then I go back and play any of the Souls games, and like, they're really not that hard after Sekiro. You know what I mean?
Oh wow! So that one is the hardest Souls game.
Yeah, because it's so quick. Souls and Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, they're very slow combat. You've got slow rolling, and you're trying to move in slow hits. Everything's slowed down. Sekiro is like balls to the wall, 100%. You're like maybe on the verge of having a seizure because you're moving so quickly through some of the combat.
A legit samurai game.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like that's how I imagine. That's peak sword combat in a video game for me. That's how you do it. Sound design with it and everything is perfect.
Oh, speaking of sound, the sound in this show was also amazing.
So good, yeah.
And music was great.
The older I get, man, the more I'm appreciative of the sound design in some of the stuff. Spider-Man 2, prime example. Spider-Man 2 sound design is so flawless, absolutely flawless.
So when I played that, I wore my Beats, hooked them up to my PS5 controller, because I mean, I've got the TV down here, obviously, but it doesn't sound that great. But with these things on,
Dude,
oh my gosh!
so
and
good,
I even listened to this some of this show with these headphones on, and it just sounded even better. I felt like I was in it, like totally immersed into it.
So I really want to get the 3D Pulse headset for which is made to use with the 3D audio on the PS5. Really want to get it because my TV sucks too. Like I don't have a sound bar, so the sound on the TV is just like mediocre at best.
Sounds everything.
It is.
It really is.
The usage of sound in Spider-Man is perfect, but I also appreciate the lack of sound in some things.
Mm-hmm.
So those Rurouni Kenshin movies that I was talking about, there's a sword fight in there where there's no music whatsoever. It's just the clanking of the swords and the swooshing of their kimonos, and it's so badass sounding. Like I wish they did every fight like that. Like it's really, really well done. So yeah, the more I get, the more games and movies I watch, I'm like, I really appreciate the sound design and a lot of the stuff. I think it makes some of these games and shows.
There's something that I think I'm going to try out soon because it's going to solve a problem. So like TV in our bedroom, like we don't have a sound bar in there. It's just like a flat TV on the wall, right? Terrible sound.
Yeah.
They make adapters for TVs that will Bluetooth to your earbuds.
Yeah.
So I was like laying there one night and I'm like, we just need earbuds so we can watch TV and I can freaking hear it, but also not worry about like people waking up or anything like that. Like if I can just lay here and watch TV and like everyone else is sleeping, sign me up.
What?
You're just going to edit the end into this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you just talk till whenever, really.
This could have been like a 20-minute sound.
Short. Yeah, video. Short. Yeah.
If you love sword fighting, blood, gore, chicks, guts, and wieners, this is a show for you.
Absolutely.
Sword fights. Whole new level of sword fights.
Very evil Irish white man, too. Like if you're into that thing too.
Yeah, if you like, if you got a friggin' you like the evil Irishman, you're in.